would like to inform you all, in case you didn't know, you are in the middle of a musical and cultural revolution. And I bet you want to know how. This steel pan or steel drum is the main reason. It is the newest acoustic instrument in the world, developed only in the late 1940s. I guess that's still like really early for this time of age. So I'm going to be telling you the history and the creation behind the steel drum, and do my very best to demonstrate how it's played. I've only just started to learn how to play this thing since like last fall, so I'm not that great at it. So everything started in the island of Trinidad, which is the very lowest island of the Caribbean. It's right off the coast of Venezuela. Apparently you can see it like just there. It's barely like 9 miles away. And there's a smaller island called Tobago, which is just in the northwest corner of it, northeast I mean. And they're both really close together, so therefore when people talk about the steel pan, they usually say it's from both Trinidad and Tobago. So that's the geography of it. Back in the 1800s, slavery was still abundant in the Caribbean, and one thing that the slaves from Africa brought with them was their music, and especially drums. And they would have drums made out of stretched animal skin that they would use for communication, or even for singing political songs, but you wouldn't know it's political. It would be a song about a little kitty cat or something. And it'd be talking about playing in the snow, having all this kind of fun stuff like that, but it's really not going to mean, here's a cute little cat playing in the snow or anything. It's going to be something very political, and it's going to get right straight to a point. So that's how they used the drums that they had then. But in 1883, the then British government and slave owners that ran the island, they banned it. They wanted to stop them from secretly practicing their religion, and they wanted to get them like cut into straight on worship their God and everything. So they banned stretched skin drumming, period. There were no drums out there whatsoever with stretched animal skin, and that was practically the only way they knew how to use their drums. So in a way it kind of crushed their spirit. But something really innovative came from them also. They had another idea that they would use for music. They wouldn't necessarily use it for political or communicative means, but they would still be able to play the music that they really loved. And this was called bamboo tambu. Funny name, but it gets serious later on. Basically, bamboo tambu is you get sticks of bamboo, and they would be hollow at the end of it. There would be cuts on either side, and if you drop it on the floor or hit a note against it, it will make a note. The sound will resonate from the ends of the bamboo, and it will make a sound. So what people would do, they would have a group of people. Each of them would have a bamboo stick, and each one would have a different sound to it. So if you hit it or drop it, and it goes in sync or in a certain order, it will play a song. Much like you would play a piano, each key has a note, and if you play it different ones at different times, it can create a harmony and stuff like that. And basically, you can get an entire song just out of smacking a piece of wood on the floor. Really innovative stuff. It got so popular, actually, just in Trinidad, that they would have annual competitions of bamboo tambu groups. And they would bring people from all over the island during carnival season, which is basically like the last days that you spend before Lent, like Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras, stuff like that. Same thing. And during carnival, they would have a big competition with all these bamboo tambu groups. And they would get together and they would see which ones can play more in sync and which ones would play better than other groups. But in the early 1900s to late 1800s, competition and rivalry between the groups got so fierce that they would actually cut the ends of the bamboo into sharp sticks, and they would impale each other with it.
Oh my Lord.
Gruesome end to bamboo tambu. And after that whole fiasco, when people just started getting mercilessly killed by their own instruments, the British government there that still ran it banned bamboo tambu. So once again, for more and more decades, the island of Trinidad, which is so innovative for its musical creativity, was just absolutely spiritually crushed. They couldn't think of anything else that they would use to creatively give their retrospect for music for. So they couldn't use a stretched animal skin. They couldn't use the very own wood that they had on their island. So after that, to the early 1900s, between like 1910 to 1930s, they would use metal. They would also either have like glass bottles and stuff like that from beer or soda or whatever they had back then, and they would actually get a spoon and they would just play all over the bottle. And each part of the bottle would make a different sound so they can create music out of it. So these people from Trinidad and from the Caribbean, they couldn't let anything down. No matter what they had in their hands, no matter what was available left on the island, they would use anything just to make music. And it's been really innovative in the way that they've done it. They've really inspired a lot of people all over the world to just see anything and you can create music out of it. So what they did, they would get pieces of metal. They would get either pots or pans that they had in the kitchen, or they would get loose bottles on the floor, or any piece of a building that wasn't part of the building anymore, like a pipe, anything. Anything made out of metal that made a sound, they used as a musical instrument. So when it came to the 1930s, the late 1930s, people started looking at oil barrels. And oil barrels are what they used to import and export oil that they would get on the islands and around the other islands and export over to the other places. So that's what they did. They would get oil barrels and they would start banging on them. People realized that if you made a dent in the middle of the barrel, the two different sides of the barrel can make a sound. So that's what they did. And the first person to ever create a real pan like this was a 14-year-old young man by the name of Elie Manet. And in 1946, he created the first melodic pan. And after that, he became an overnight sensation, instant celebrity, and suddenly all over the world, people want to hear this kind of music and they want to play it. So, kind of an interesting history behind what actually made this. And it's just really inspirational to a lot of people on how the people from this island went through so much trouble, went through so much pain and misery, and complete lack of musical creativity that they actually came up with this, and a lot of people are really thankful for that. So to give you an idea of how it sounds, I'm going to do my best to play a little bit. I'm probably going to suck at it though, so don't mind. I just want to make you guys kind of aware that no matter what is given to you, no matter what limitations are given to you by any sort of peer pressure, any sort of government, or just anything that would want to try to take control of your musical creativity, there's absolutely nothing holding you back. You can get anything. One pen, one desk. You've got a musical instrument.
Woohoo!